This is Women Road Warriors with Shelley Johnson and Kathy Tuccaro. From the corporate office to the cab of a truck, they're here to inspire and empower women in all professions. So gear down, sit back, and enjoy.
Welcome. We're an award-winning show dedicated to empowering women in every profession through inspiring stories and expert insights. No topics off limits on our show. We power women on the road to success with expert and celebrity interviews and information you need. I'm Shelley.
And I'm Kathy.
Resilience is something that not everybody realizes that they have. To weather life's adversity, it takes sheer determination, intestinal fortitude, and resilience. It also requires self-care, especially when you're in business. Brigette Panetta is an example of this. She's a powerful advocate for people facing social injustice and adversity. As co-founder of Media.com, she suffered false allegations on her family's investment business, Mayfair 101, in Australia, by government regulators. Media.com is a place where people and businesses can tell their true stories if they've been victims of government overreach and injustice. If that wasn't enough, during the pandemic, she gave birth only to find herself in the ICU and ended up supporting her business partner through 26 legal hearings. She lost her family home and suffered personal and professional setbacks that now drive her to speak out and assist others who've battled injustice. She's committed to creating a foundation to offer litigation funding for people in the same circumstances. Brigette is also passionate about holistic healing modalities and internal healing. She wants to educate women about self-care and the benefits of breathwork, meditation, kinesiology, and Reiki to overcome trauma and stress. Brigitte's certainly been through her share of all of that. We have her on our show to hear more about her incredible journey and what she's doing to make positive change for women and women entrepreneurs. Welcome, Brigette. Thank you for being on the show with us.
Shelley, thank you so much for having me. And that introduction was just amazing. I was actually getting emotional all over again. But thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
You're welcome. We're the ones who are happy to have you.
Yes. You're an incredible lady, Brigette. We want to hear more about your story. What all went on? What have you learned? It seems like in the course of just a couple of years, life really threw some boulders at you.
It did. It did. And it's at the time, you really don't understand why such a massive challenge is coming in your direction. But it takes, a few years for you to accept, process, and learn the tools, I guess, and evolve to match that challenge and to then be able to see why it came to you. And I feel like I'm definitely at that point now, which is amazing. And I'm able to find peace in the chaos, which still kind of surrounds us a little bit. But yeah, it's been a journey.
What all happened?
So my partner and I ran an investment business, a private investment company in Australia, and the regulator took issue with our marketing. There was a proceeding lodged on our business to say that we were misleading and deceiving the public with our marketing, which is interesting because all of our marketing had legal sign off. We did all of the things that you require to do running a business and running a compliant business. So it was a big shock to us. As you mentioned, it was also in the pandemic, and it happened 2 days before I gave birth to my daughter.
Oh boy.
Yeah, it was a lot. And, mentally I was thinking, no, this is just got to be a bit of a misunderstanding because we can provide our legal sign off. We can provide our tax advice for everything we've done. And then it should blow over. But I think my body knew there was a bit of a roller coaster coming up and went into a complete state of shock, which then in turn affected my birthing experience heavily. I just wouldn't cooperate. And my blood was actually septic in the end and no one knew. So I was kind of sitting in that for a while. And that's when I ended up in ICU. And as soon as I had Emerald, as soon as I gave birth to Emerald, it was basically, we're in a bit of a conflict zone since then. It was straight into survival mode, straight into how we're going to, handle this. What are we going to do? We lost most of our staff because of the proceedings. And a lot of them were in sales or in marketing. And because it was a marketing proceeding, they didn't want to be, I guess, linked to that, which, is understandable. But I was working in the finance team. So I kind of went straight back into that role as soon as Bub had arrived. And I just remember saying to myself, you can have a breakdown later. And right now, James and Emerald are your priority. And I just need to do whatever I can to make sure they're healthy. So making sure everyone's eating and getting looked after there, but also providing anything to lawyers and things like that I needed to from a finance perspective. And just, cleaning out James's emails if I needed to, or just helping where I could, I guess, from a high level to keep the ball rolling and support where I could.
Wow. To deal with all of that and to be a new mother at the same time and having had health issues along with it, that requires more than tenacity. And
Yeah.
the problem is, and a lot of businesses run into this, they don't anticipate government regulators. They're bureaucrats. They're sitting behind a desk and they can throw something at you. You didn't see coming.
Yeah, exactly right. Yeah, it's a bit scary, the power that they have, especially when you can look into certain things, like the investigation. James has never been interviewed. He's never been spoken to. And so that's why it was even more of a shock, because usually, they'd come to you and say, these are our concerns and we can address them before it, ends up draining a business of their funds and affecting everyone involved. But we didn't get the liberty of that process. So that's why it was just even more of a shock. So we're still in court at the moment trying to get to the very bottom of it, because James is a very, very determined and very, I've learned a lot of my resilience from him, admittedly, because he has been able to weather this storm really with such, integrity and grace almost, like I've never seen him falter, or I've never seen him be rattled. So I could see him going through that. And I thought, okay, if he can do it, I can do it, like we're a team and we're going to get through this together. And, because there was moments where I just thought, I could just walk out that door and, all this for me will be, not over, but I won't have to feel this pressure, because every day I'd wake up and there would be some form of bad news. And it was like, on top of breastfeeding, looking after a life, it was like a war zone. That's what it felt like in my house. And because we were stuck in COVID, we couldn't leave. So we were trapped in this chaos.
Well, and that impacted business too, with all the shutdowns. And Australia was really stringent on the
Yeah.
shutdowns.
Yeah, a lot of businesses didn't survive. And the fact
Yeah.
that we've still survived through that, and having 26, lawsuits that we've had to battle along the way. I would have hoped that people would see that, if there were, truth in these allegations and things, we would have just shut up shop, and we would have just, we wouldn't have gone through all of this, and James wouldn't have missed time with his family. But he chose to, prove that and clear his name, I guess, and protect the people that were heavily affected by this, like heavily impacted by this, which were our lenders and things like that. So he thought they shouldn't be the collateral damage in this, and he wants to keep continuing to fight to make things right. So I'm really proud of him for that.
It takes serious courage. And it's very costly when you're entangled in legal battles like that. And then by the
Yes.
time you're done, how do you get your reputation back? Because that's also something that's seriously compromised when you've been wrongfully accused, especially.
That's one of the biggest things that we've struggled with this whole time, because, even if we do win and even if we do clear James's name, that damage is done.
Yeah.
And that sits there with him forever. He struggles a lot with creating relationships, and we've been debanked in Australia 5 times because of the adverse media and things like that. So that's where media.com was born, and that's where we could see the gap in the market and the opportunity, I guess, because for us, if we had a platform like that where we could actually speak our truth and not have to go through the legal proceedings, because not everyone can afford it, and we couldn't afford it. That's why things have gotten so bad, because at the initial stages we were defunded, so we couldn't actually bring any money into our business through a court order.
Wow.
So we couldn't actually fight our cases, so they won
Mm.
essentially. And so when we were able to source funding, which James, worked tirelessly to be able to arrange and to be able to work out, he was able to appeal the cases. And one of them was overturned on the basis of a denial of procedural fairness, and now it's kind of in court again now. So there's only so much I can kind of speak on about it. But
Sure.
there's so much funding, there's so much, time that goes into trying to defend yourself. And like I said, not everyone can afford it. So, with media.com, you could potentially lose a court case, but you can have the ability to speak your truth. And because when, this is happening, the journalists pick a narrative. And if you're
Mhm.
not on their narrative side, they don't want to talk to you. So we didn't have a voice through the media, but, the government obviously would and did. And so we weren't able to say our piece. And that reputational damage carries into everything and everywhere. And so we thought, why wouldn't we create a platform where people can actually have their say, they can provide evidence, they can substantiate what they're saying, they can copy in articles, they can highlight sections that are misleading, false, you know, uh, incorrect, inaccurate, whatever, however you want to label that statement about you and your life and your actions, and you can actually support it with evidence and substantiate it. Just so it's on the internet, you can actually create your own profile from the source of truth, not from a journalist who doesn't know
Sure.
you or hasn't spoken to you.
Well, and the problem is, and I've seen this, the evolution of journalism, it's gone from investigative reporting and reporting both sides of the story to very one-sided spin, just because there's
100%.
so much competition and
Yeah.
they don't always even know what they're writing about.
Yes.
It's very frustrating, and people's reputations, their whole lives can be ruined by that kind of thing. So what you're doing with media.com makes total sense. Now, is this just for people who are involved with litigation on media.com?
No, it started like that. But it's actually gotten bigger and bigger and bigger as we've been building. So it's now a whole platform that you can create your story on there. You can put your previous workplace. You can put any kind of feed. There's like a news feed, so you can post things about other journalists, about other media that you want to say your piece on. But you can also post podcasts, videos. So it's kind of like bringing all of the platforms into one, as opposed to having to spread your information across, LinkedIn, YouTube, but like everywhere. So it's
Sure.
bringing it all into one space.
So it's a neutral platform, which is good.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, and all has to be verified. So there's not like no bots, no unverified accounts, no keyboard. We're hoping to remove the keyboard warriors in one section, and then we're also looking to, with like you said, having both sides of the media, because no one's paid to post, and there's no incentive of financial gain if you have a big headline, to get those clicks, kind of thing, that paywall element. So we're trying to remove that, so there's just truth, there's just honesty, and people are just writing because they generally love to write.
That's refreshing. And it's so needed. People assume everything that they read on social media is gospel truth, when in fact, it's not.
Mhm.
You know,
Mhm.
I've read some pretty crazy stuff on the internet. It's like, really? Okay. No, I don't think
Yes.
so.
Exactly. Yeah, people just want eyeballs, and I get it. People have
Mhm.
been able to make good money doing that, but it's also, people are confused.
Oh, yeah.
There's an over supply of information now, and now people aren't sure where to go, what to read, and
True.
everyone just wants to know what's really going on in the world. You know.
Stay tuned for more of Women Road Warriors coming up.
Dean Michael, the tax doctor here. I have one question for you. Do you want to stop worrying about the IRS? If the answer is yes, then look no further. I've been around for years. I've helped countless people across the country, and my success rate speaks for itself. So now you know where to find good, honest help with your tax problems. What are you waiting for? If you owe more than $10,000 to the IRS or haven't filed in years, call me now at 888-557-4020 or go to mytaxhelpmd.com for a free consultation and get your life back.
Industry movement Trucking Moves America Forward is telling the story of the industry. Our safety champions, the women of trucking, independent contractors, the next generation of truckers, and more. Help us promote the best of our industry. Share your story and what you love about trucking. Share images of a moment you're proud of. And join us on social media. Learn more at truckingmovesamerica.com.
Welcome back to Women Road Warriors with Shelley Johnson and Kathy Tuccaro.
If you're enjoying this informative episode of Women Road Warriors, I wanted to mention Kathy and I explore all kinds of topics that will power you on the road to success. We feature a lot of expert interviews. Plus, we feature celebrities and women who've been trailblazers. Please check out our podcast at womenroadwarriors.com and click on our episodes page. We're also available wherever you listen to podcasts, on all the major podcast channels like Spotify, Apple, YouTube, Amazon Music, Audible, you name it. Check us out and bookmark our podcast. Also, don't forget to follow us on social media. We're on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Pinterest, LinkedIn, YouTube, and other sites. And tell others about us. We want to help as many women as possible. Resilience is one of those qualities we often don't realize we have until life tests us to the core. Brigette Panetta knows exactly what that's like. She's a powerhouse advocate for those facing social injustice, and her own story reads like a masterclass in determination. As co-founder of Media.com, she endured false allegations from government regulators against her family's investment business, Mayfair 101, in Australia. That's how Media.com was born. It was a place to convey the correct information to the public and for those falsely accused to speak their truth where they can tell their side of the story. Brigette has had nerves of steel throughout the entire process. During the pandemic, she gave birth, landed in the ICU, and still managed to support her business partner through 26 legal hearings, losing her family home in the process. Brigette turns her setbacks into fuel for change. She advocates to fight against injustice. She's now working to build a foundation to provide litigation funding for others in similar battles, and she's passionate about teaching women the power of self-care through breath work, meditation, kinesiology, and Reiki to heal from trauma and stress. She's been sharing her incredible journey and the positive change she's making for women and women entrepreneurs everywhere. Brigette, I commend you for doing all that you're doing. You're committed to battling injustice. And
Yes.
unfortunately, we go through life, we all experience some form of it. Some people more than others. And it comes when you least expect it. And certainly women can run into that. And I love how you're empowering women. This is to teach resilience. That's something you don't even have to be in business to need to know how to do. How do people find their resilience? How did you?
Yeah. So when all of this was happening, I went into that survival mode. And then once we moved, and I was out of that routine that I'd created, like a really strict routine, my body just kind of gave way. It was like, oh, okay, the robotic side of me just kind of collapsed, I guess. And I had a child to protect and to provide strength to and show up for. And I was finding I wasn't able to do that. And we were still kind of in COVID. So I didn't have the village, I didn't have the support, and all my family were on the other side of Australia. So, or majority of them were. So I really had to find a way to be able to show up for Emerald. And I actually at one point had a panic attack because of some of the headlines that I'd read in the paper. And I'd also seen Emerald's name mentioned in a court document, which absolutely floored me as a mother. I just could not believe that that was my life. And so I was offered Valium at the hospital, and I thought, no, this is how, people get hooked on things. And I wasn't going to give, our opponents the satisfaction of me getting some form of, addiction or just hooked on something that I would never normally take. And so I was just scrolling online and I found a kinesiologist that was in my area. And I went to the appointment. She was available the next day. I thought, okay, amazing. And I got James to watch Emerald, and I went to this appointment, and I went in as a very broken person, someone who I just didn't know how I was going to make it through the day, let alone, have a beautiful, healthy, happy life. And so I went in and I did an amazing forgiveness practice. She kind of talked me into it. And I never thought of forgiving anyone because of the damage and the pain that I had just gone through for the last kind of few years. And doing that forgiveness practice was one of the most freeing things I've ever done. And I was just like, from that moment onwards, I was just so consistent, and I was seeking any type of healing modality, outside of, going to see a doctor about depression or anything like that. And as I started doing things like that and looking more within and trying to work out how to release like the anger, the frustration, the resentment, and those emotions that I was carrying, I found as I was removing these layers, I was hearing this beautiful inner voice of, you know, this, you're going to be okay. You've got this. And, this is for a bigger purpose. And I just started to align with this really beautiful energy that was, myself. Instead of seeking external, help, it was all coming from within. And I've never heard anything like that before. I'd never connected with that level of myself before. And from those moments, I just started to feel better and happier and lighter. And I was from that moment onwards, I was very committed to, clearing anything that was inside, because that's what was holding me back. And that's what was drowning me. No one was forcing me to carry any of this hatred or anger or this sadness. It was me. I was choosing to do that. And so I feel like the resilience really came from just trying to look after myself and self-care. And I had to tell James, look, I can't help you as much now. I need to protect me, because in turn that will help both of you, because I will be, able to cope better. Because when you're kind of spiraling, it wasn't helping anyone. But I felt like that was the only way I could ask for help, essentially. But when you can learn to help yourself, I think that's the most powerful thing and can help you overcome anything.
Really is. Kathy, you've experienced something similar with your experiences.
Yeah, but I mean, I don't know. In my case, it came from literally decades of repressed inner trauma and sexual abuse and extreme violence, and not saying anything to anybody and carrying on. I was a nurse, and it was very easy for me to take care of everyone else's problems. And when it came crashing down, when I was finally at the age of 40, I mean, I couldn't even comb my hair. I couldn't put one foot in front of the other. I couldn't function. And it literally took me to losing everything I owned and being homeless. And, I was drinking alcohol a lot. And it took me to stop everything I was doing and turn, like you say, turn inwardly and figure it out from the inside out, and start plucking away all those layers of pain. And it took me a total of 2 years to actually dig to the very core and find out what it was. It's just like it took a lot of different kinds of treatment and different ways of seeking out. Yes, I was doing meditation. Yes, I was doing I had my counselor. I was doing a lot of art therapy. I was doing writing therapy. I was doing inner workbook stuff. I was exercising. I'm meditating. I'm doing all these things. But I mean, change and growth and healing, it takes time. It doesn't happen overnight. And now, it's been, let's see, 12 years since those moments, since those 2 years. And my gosh, like if you'd see me now as opposed to what I was back then, you wouldn't even recognize me. It's like the change is so dramatic. It's so, caterpillar to the butterfly. It's
Yeah.
wonderful. Yeah. And through those stages, through every single step of the way, builds resilience. You don't see it. It's not something you can just say, "Oh, I have resilience today." It shows up in a way that when you're faced with a new problem, it's the way you respond to it. You respond to it better than you would have back in the day. That's how I see it. Would you say, Brigette, that this has helped you respond better, more proactively, and maybe not get drowned by the chaos?
Yeah, yeah. And wow, Kathy, that's such an amazing story. Like that resonates so much with me. I know yours has been on such a longer scale, but it's so amazing that you were able to, I guess, pinpoint what the root cause of that was,
Yeah.
because that's exactly what it is. It's like the shadow work that I've done has been incredible for that. And I guess when you work out what the triggers are, you can every day you can see the triggers coming up, but you can be aware of them. So you do react differently. So after doing a lot of that internal work, when the same kind of conversation or the same issue does arise, I am able to handle it a lot better because I'm like, okay, I've reacted to this before. This was the consequence or this was the outcome. I got sick or there was consequences that I necessarily brought on myself, I guess, because I wasn't able to see it for what it is and like not attach to it the way I used to and see it as such a big issue that it's just a situation we need to handle and just flow through it a bit easier.
An analogy I like to kind of use now is just last year I started training on the biggest dozer in the world, and I was telling this to Shelley. You don't realize what it is until you're actually in this ginormous piece of equipment, and it's literally you're building a road from the edge of the Grand Canyon cliff, and you got to build a road from the very top all the way down. And so you're on a very, very steep edge and you're pushing and you don't see the blade is so big that you don't see until the whole dozer is over the edge and you tip forward, and it's terrifying, right? So, but doing this every single day and learning this piece of equipment at 55 years old, I mean, hey, it's got its challenges, but and half the time we're working in the dark and you can't see and it's terrifying and it's working through my own inner struggles, this fear and this like, no, I got this. Well,
Mm.
now that I do that kind of a job, so when things come my way, like in my day-to-day life, I'm like, huh, that's nothing. You should see what I did last week, right? It's as if, oh, I got this. Like, don't worry about it. Like,
Yeah.
nothing seems so bad or so big.
When you face your fears, nothing bothers you after that because you're like, I've got this. I can look at
Mhm.
you right in the face. Nothing's going to bother me after this.
Like the
Yeah,
ad.
and it's like I stand taller, I walk straighter, my
Mhm.
shoulders are square, and I feel better about who I am and every single thing that I've overcome. And I look back and I'm like, damn, look at you go. You're such a badass. Like,
That's right. Yeah.
I mean, like if you imagine yourself in 10 years' time looking back at everything that you're going through now or what you went through in the last 5 years, you're going to be just so proud of yourself. And you're like, holy crap, it's
Yeah,
the really good feeling that you can't buy, that you can't,
exactly.
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, it's
yeah,
something that you won't be able unless you do that work, you
yeah,
won't be able to achieve this feeling that you have, and that's just like that self-empowerment that you're like, "I did this all by myself." I was dedicated to myself and, that self-love, which I, didn't have before. And yeah, I do that as well. I put my shoulders back where if I have something, put on my plate or if something comes to me and I have to deal with it, I pull my shoulders back and I'm like, I've got this. Like it's that reminder, reminding yourself that you can do it. I've done it before. It's okay.
That's right.
Just remind yourself. Be your biggest cheerleader and your biggest advocate, and you can and get through anything.
Well, like the song, what doesn't kill us makes us stronger. It's so true. And
Mhm.
to be able to actually rediscover ourselves and the intrinsic strength we all have. I think society has a way of extinguishing that. And certainly
Mhm.
when you're dealing with unfair adversity, like you were, Brigette, you don't know how to navigate. Not everybody, especially with the regulatory systems and legal system, you're not skilled in that. You're not schooled in that. What am I going to do? Where do I turn? And so many things come at you. And people deal with this in different ways all the time. To stay focused, how do women in business, and even in life, even if they're not in business, how do they grasp that inner strength?
I think having a goal is what got me through. Emerald was like my initial, I guess, priority. So just making sure she was growing and I was giving her all my love and attention. Like that was my guiding light at the time. But then as things went on, I could just see, if I did a meditation or if I did something, I could just visualize this future that I was building. And even though right at that moment, I was just doing small little steps, I felt, sometimes you can look at that as a negative, like, oh, I'm not doing anything to achieve my goals. But if you look at it as if these little steps are building towards something really big in the future, and if you just manifest and try and visualize that future that you want to build, every little thing that you're doing, you'll end up putting your time into those things that are actually going to be benefiting you. So instead of me, losing the plot, I could have gone out drinking with friends. I could have gone out and escaped all of my life. I could have got a babysitter for Emerald and gone out and, gone shopping and done of the things that I used to do to kind of, I guess, drown my sorrows or make myself feel better. But instead, I was putting it into things that were making me more educated or more feeling in aligned with who I really am. And I was reading more books. I was doing more just courses on, self-mastery or understanding the human body or understanding the mind and things like that. When you feel like you're actually progressing, I feel like that's what gives you that strength to keep going. Because you're like, oh my gosh, I'm actually evolving. I'm learning. I'm using something negative and turning it into a positive. And that is the most amazing feeling for me. Instead of going to victim mode, I've gone into, this has happened to me for a reason. And I feel like I can't let that opportunity go. I really need to transform this into something special and turn a negative into a positive.
That's really the way to survive and conquer life, if you will. There's so many negatives we can encounter, but if we can turn those into a positive, and people hear this all of the time, it's a process, and we are more resilient and stronger than we think. And being able to have a focal point, I think you had your goal, to be able to visualize that goal and the future in a positive light. People lose sight of that.
I think because everyone's like that instant gratification is currently, really prominent in our society where everyone wants everything right now.
Oh, yeah.
And if they've done one thing and they're not seeing a result, it's like, oh, it's not working for me. I'm just going to give up now, And I kind of was like that for a little while. I was doing things and I wasn't seeing the results, but I'm so much more patient now because I trust in my journey. I trust that it's coming and I trust that every little thing I do, because I know it's in alignment with who I am, and I'm doing it because I feel it's right, not because I have to show on Instagram I'm doing this or I have to show people I'm doing this. It's like, I don't mind being an outlier because I know that that's what's right for me. So just, being in alignment with yourself is what's going to just keep you achieving towards that goal that will come. You just need to have trust and have faith in the universe or in yourself, and know that everything that comes to you is in divine timing.
And it's easy to lose alignment with social media. And when you're talking about instant gratification, we do live this way. I mean, human beings have become a lot more impatient in the past 15 years. It's just crazy.
Yeah, I was definitely impatient. I was like, we're doing all the right things. It's been 5 years of this legal battle. And
That's a long time.
Oh, and it's still going. So we've got an open case now, and then we've got another one coming up. And it's just like, when this was happening, I kept saying to James, like, when is this going to be over? Where are we in this, in the time range? Like, where are we? And he would try and, sugarcoat it for me and say we're a lot further along than we were. But if you would have, said to me back then that this was going to take 5 years, like, I don't know how I would have processed that. But now I think, because I've accepted that this is my life, that this is happening, and there is a bigger reason for it, I guess I can just live in peace, knowing that it's still going on. And James, he deals with a lot of the chaos. And I'm lucky enough I can remove myself when I need to, if I need to re-energize and do all of those things. Whereas before I was kind of carrying a lot of his pain for him. But that wasn't my job, and that wasn't helping him or me. So I think, when you learn that you just need to worry about what you can control and what's on your plate and what's in front of you, which for me is Emerald and my career, and it's just supporting James where I can. That's all I need to worry about. I don't need to, fix everything in the world. I don't need to fix everyone's problems for them. That's their stuff, their journey. And I just kind of can worry about what I can control. And it just made things a lot easier, a lot lighter.
Yeah.
Not worrying about what everyone thought about reading the media. Like, who cares what people think? If they're my friends and my family, they'll contact me if they want to know what's going on. So that was really difficult for me to handle because I'm very, your identity is being judged by people. And so therefore I was taking that personally. My ego was getting bruised. But when I removed a lot of that, I don't care anymore.
There are a lot of programs that teach that sort of thing. And certainly in recovery, a lot of people will say things like, let go and let God. Essentially, you have to let go of the things you have no control over because human beings do like to think that they can control the world. They really can't. Mother Nature reminds us of that every now and then,
Yes.
And you may have the best of intentions, but what you're doing is just creating more internal conflict. And certainly what you've been dealing with 5 years of legal wrangling, oh my goodness, it'd be like in the middle of an ocean and you're trying to come up for air and you're able to come up for air and all of a sudden there's another tidal wave and you're down back under the water and then you're coming back up. I mean, to be able to grasp onto some sort of serenity amid all of that, that's a real accomplishment.
Yeah. Oh, thank you. Yeah, it was tough. And that analogy is like spot on. Like every time you think, okay, I've got this, and then something else happens, and you're like, when is this going to end? When are these, like, it was just waking up to bad news every day. And so I didn't want to wake up, but then I had a child to look after. So I was like, I had to persevere, but it was just, taking those hits was just relentless for a few years until I was able to just accept that would happen.
Stay tuned for more of Women Road Warriors coming up.
Dean Michael, the tax doctor here. I have one question for you. Do you want to stop worrying about the IRS? If the answer is yes, then look no further. I've been around for years. I've helped countless people across the country, and my success rate speaks for itself. So now you know where to find good, honest help with your tax problems. What are you waiting for? If you owe more than $10,000 to the IRS or haven't filed in years, call me now at 888-557-4020 or go to mytaxhelpmd.com for a free consultation and get your life back.
Industry movement Trucking Moves America Forward is telling the story of the industry. Our safety champions, the women of trucking, independent contractors, the next generation of truckers, and more. Help us promote the best of our industry. Share your story and what you love about trucking. Share images of a moment you're proud of. And join us on social media. Learn more at truckingmovesamerica.com.
Welcome back to Women Road Warriors with Shelley Johnson and Kathy Tuccaro.
If you've ever wondered what it really takes to stand tall when life knocks you down, you'll want to lean in for this. Brigette Panetta is living proof that resilience isn't just a buzzword, it's a survival skill. As co-founder of Media.com, where businesses and people can tell the real stories about themselves, she faced false allegations from government regulators targeting her family's investment business, Mayfair 101, in Australia. Then came the pandemic. She gave birth, ended up in the ICU, and still stood by her business partner through 26 legal hearings, all while losing her family home. But instead of breaking, Brigette rebuilt. She found resilience and strength she never knew she had. She works to help people battle injustice, and she's on a mission to help women reclaim their power through holistic healing. Things like breathwork, meditation, kinesiology, and Reiki. Her story is raw, inspiring, and a reminder that adversity can forge the strongest leaders. It also requires a focal point for each of us. Brigette, what do you advise for people who may not be able to find their focus, their focal point, the bright spot on the horizon?
I would just just use yourself. I see this a lot because I do think that same thing, what would have happened if Emerald didn't come into my life? because she's helped me overcome a lot of triggers and things, because children do that. They bring out all of your triggers. And I think, how would I have done that? Or why didn't I do this before she came? And I think it was because I didn't value myself enough before. I didn't have that like strong self-worth. I loved myself. I presented well. I always looked after myself. I went to the gym and did all of those things, but there was still something inside that was telling me I wasn't, I guess, there wasn't that drive to be able to evolve and improve myself unless I got knocked, which I think that's why this happened. So I could really evolve into who I'm meant to be. So I think if you can just have that self-worth and use that as, I deserve everything that I want on this planet, and who do I need to be today to achieve that? Like, if I want to achieve A, B, and C, what does that person look like? And if that person doesn't look like who you're operating as every single day, then that's a good chance for you to start auditing your life, auditing every single thing you're doing. If you're waking up, checking your phone, if you're waking up and having a coffee straight away instead of, getting some sunlight or having some fresh water or having vitamins and things like that, is that affecting your energy to be able to be the most, abundant person that you should be, to be able to achieve the things that you ultimately want in life? So I think it's just using yourself as that guiding light and knowing that you're worth everything that you've dreamt of having. You can achieve it if you just start evolving your habits and your actions and things every day.
I like how you describe self-audit. That's a
Yeah.
good description, to take a step back and say, okay, what's going on? What am I doing? Too often we don't do that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You
it's
just
hard is starting. It's easy to sit there and brew in our own misery. The hardest part is doing one small thing for yourself, even if it's just getting up, getting out of bed. Well, at least you did something.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it's so true, and just that one change. I remember when I went and saw someone. What did I say? It was like a Reiki session. And from that moment, something just switched in me. And I would wake up, I'd go sit outside straight away. I'd get up like probably 5 a.m. because Emerald would wake up at 7. So I was like, I need 2 hours to myself in the morning, because when she was waking me up, I wasn't able to have the mindset that I would if I had just, even half an hour to myself before she woke up. So I was getting up earlier, and I was just doing a 5-minute YouTube exercise, like an abdominal workout or a leg workout, just 5 minutes. And then I would do a meditation. I'd do a Deepak Chopra meditation for 15 minutes. And just those two things, I did them consistently for 21 days. And I just kept going. And I thought 21 days was my limit to try and create a habit of some sort. But just those two things, I found I just changed, because I felt so much more in control, I guess, of myself. And I felt like I was getting a bit more of a routine. And just having that routine just kind of changed my mindset for the day. Then I was reading more instead of watching a show. Like I was wanting to do more productive things, than feeling a bit more than feeling flat.
By doing this, I think that they've discovered that this actually develops new neural pathways, because
Yes.
you're developing new habits. Habits are hard to break. So
Yeah.
you have to kind of rewire your brain, if you will.
Yes. And I feel like that discipline of the mind, it's so much easier to be disciplined when you have more energy, and you've had more sleep. And I guess you've optimized your rest time. That was a big thing for me, because I wasn't sleeping because of Emerald was waking up during the night. So
Oh, sure.
I found, when you're not sleeping, you don't have that discipline, because you don't care. You're like, just whatever I
Oh.
need to do to get through the day, I will do.
Parents are really sleep deprived, especially when
Mhm.
they have infants.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. You don't think that, but you don't you hear that phrase, sleep like a baby your whole
Yeah.
life, and you get a baby, you're like, oh my God, they don't sleep. Like, where did this phrase come from?
Yeah, every 4 hours. And if you have a colicky baby, then you've got even less sleep.
Yeah. Yeah, it's brutal. It can be pretty tough, those early stages. And yeah. I did get a really good sleep routine for Emerald at the start, just because I felt like I had to, because I was working in between her sleeps. But yeah, then they keep regressing and changing. So it's like, that helped me to release control as well, because you just have to go with it. Whatever the baby needs. You can't get them on too much of a strict routine. It's just life.
Well, and if you're a new mom, there's no tutorial that comes with that infant.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly right. Yeah, and I was in lockdown as well, so I didn't really have, anyone over. I didn't have, the mothers groups. I couldn't do any of that. I think we did one mothers group over a Zoom call, and I just didn't go back because it just wasn't the same. So it was quite isolating.
That's a tough one. And that's
Mm,
what a lot of people talked about with the pandemic and all the shutdowns, the terrible isolation. And
mhm.
people need people. They need a support system. And,
So true.
if you want to grow as a person and you want to exercise self-care, you also need to have a good support system, not people who are going to work against you. You need to have, people who are going to say, hey, I can help you with this and that kind of stuff. And
Mm,
so you were
yeah.
kind of weathering the storm along with this uncharted territory of legal wrangling. Oh my.
Mm. Yeah, it's a bit of a contrast because in one way it was COVID for me come at a good time because we were under so much pressure that we could not have a life at all. And so by having lockdowns, it made me feel like I wasn't missing out on anything. But then on the other side, it did make things really sticky because we couldn't like go out and meet with people and, have one-on-one conversations with people about the business and grow it and try and find solutions. So we were trapped in it, but then it kind of gave us that focus time to be able to say, right, I'm going to just focus on Emerald, get her in a really good routine because we weren't going out for lunches. We weren't going out for catch up. So it wasn't interrupting her sleep. But then we were able to just focus on work. But then, yeah, we didn't have the village at the same time to be able to help us just, I guess, navigate the storm that we were in.
Hmm. I really like what you're doing with media.com. You're giving people a voice, and that's really important today in social media. Because even though we're able to connect with lots of people, a lot of people don't have a voice. It's like they can't tell their story, and they should have a right to do that. I love the fact you're an advocate for social justice. What do you want to see happening with media.com, and how do people just click on media.com? Is that available around the world?
Yes, so it's going to be launched in the next few weeks. We've been in beta stage for the last probably 3 weeks, and it's going to be a global platform. And yeah, anyone can start a profile, and there's a read only section. Then there's other elements if you want to be like a thought leader and things like that. So different tiers to it, and it's just going to be able to give people that voice, give people that safety of having a space to be able to post your thoughts, post your story, post your life, I guess, and control your reputation, control your image in the world, in a space where you don't have those keyboard warriors, the bots, and the need to just get a lot of likes or the need to have a lot of comments and things like that. It's not about validation. It's not about status. It's about just sharing your truth and just that's kind of the purity of it, and that's what we wanted to give people that opportunity to just have a safe place to share their story and yeah, just create a community of people that can follow their story.
Share your truth. I like that. That gives, and when people are facing injustice, that's a lot of it. They're accused of something, they can't speak. Nobody wants
Yeah.
to listen. They don't have a forum because there's
Yeah.
always the other side of the story.
Exactly, and we also at the time, we didn't have social media status because that wasn't our business model. We didn't really need it for that. We were just focusing on our business, building our website and things like that. And so when we didn't have the platform or the status or the followers, it really, really was hard for us because we couldn't, I guess, share our story anywhere. So we did go to Twitter at the time. This was nearly 5 years ago, and we had all of these people creating fake accounts with James's name and,
Mm.
and so they were then writing and people didn't know who was who. And it was
Yeah.
like, it was such a mess. So I guess with our platform, it's all verified. So it's the trusted source, that people can't create fake profiles.
That's good. That's very good.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's like we just wanted to clean up the area and the space a bit just because we struggled a lot. And
Mhm.
I feel like, that did trickle into so many, it affected us in so many ways reputationally. So hopefully in the future, if there is a breaking story, if there is someone who's been criticized, people can think to go to media.com to see if
Yeah.
that person's actually responded to that on their platform.
Do fact checking. Excellent. Yes.
Yeah.
This is so needed in social media to be able to actually find a place where people can see both sides of the story and see what's really going on. Things can go viral. It doesn't mean it's true.
Mm. Exactly. It just depends, if they can get enough bots onto that account to be able to create that viral, and then, people, the retail just follow
That's
when
right.
the trend is happening. So it's very manipulated.
It is.
And it's also, for kids, they're getting the wrong start to life, I feel,
Right.
with all of this viral, who cares? They should just be focusing on themselves. And it's just another way for them to disconnect and get caught up and sucked into things that that aren't even true or real.
Amen to that.
Hmm.
So people can go out to media.com.
Yes.
Can people reach out to you if they have any questions?
Of course. Yeah. So I am on media.com at the moment, media.com/Brigette Panetta. I'm on Instagram as well, just Brigette Panetta on Instagram. And I'm so happy for anyone to reach out who might obviously want a profile on the platform that I'm happy to discuss that with anyone. And also anyone suffering with any kind of injustice. I've I've got a website, a landing page up at the moment, so people can go onto there. But anyone needing support, anyone just wanting someone to speak to, I'm so available at any time to help anyone suffering from anything like that or any kind of adversity. It's definitely a passion of mine, and I really feel like I want to help as many people as I can in that space. So
Wonderful. Thank you for paying it forward. You truly are making a positive out of a huge negative.
yeah, I feel like that's what I need to do now. I just, I want to be the person that I wish I had at that time.
There you
So
go. Well, that's
yeah.
that's how things improve. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Thank you, Brigette. This has been phenomenal.
Thank you so much.
You're very welcome. We hope you've enjoyed this latest episode. And if you want to hear more episodes of Women Road Warriors or learn more about our show, be sure to check out womenroadwarriors.com. And please follow us on social media. And don't forget to subscribe to our podcast. On our website, we also have a selection of podcasts just for women. There are a series of podcasts from different podcasters. So if you're in the mood for women's podcasts, just click the Power Network tab on womenroadwarriors.com. You'll have a variety of shows to listen to anytime you want to. Podcasts made for women. Women Road Warriors is on all the major podcast channels like Apple, Spotify, Amazon, Audible, YouTube, and others. Check us out. And please follow us wherever you listen to podcasts. Thanks for listening.
You've been listening to Women Road Warriors with Shelley Johnson and Kathy Tuccaro. If you want to be a guest on the show or have a topic or feedback, email us at sjohnson@womenroadwarriors.com.